there's a test coming up here. If the Anaheim Ducks can hang around with these teams, they could be real. Welcome to another episode of the Checking from Behind podcast. I'm your host, Zach, and today I have a guest on today from the Buds Mafia podcast. I have Ryan Ellis. I appreciate you coming on, man. First off, how are you doing today?
Good, man. It's been awesome. We were just before this, we were chatting some Bills. So obviously I like you and everything's been going well. It's been nice collaborating with you the last few weeks. I'm happy we're kind of communicating and everything, and I'm happy to come on tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on as well. And so what we'd like to do around here on the podcast is kind of give an introduction to the audience of kind of what you're about, what you guys do over there, content-wise, how you kind of got into like the content landscape, and even your fandom with the Maple Leafs, who we'll get into later in this episode, the Buffalo Bills, or etc. So by all means, the floor is yours, and go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm just a kid from Burlington, Ontario. People may not know it, but it's kind of a small city just outside Toronto. I've been a Leafs man my entire life. Played junior hockey, clearly didn't make it well. So obviously I loved media, went to school for media and everything like that. Want to get in the content game. Took me a while to get into it because you know how it is. Can be a bit not cringy, maybe posting videos of yourself, maybe trying to stick out there. Your friends maybe chirp you every now and then, but it's something you just got to push past. And all my friends are supportive now. And I did Buds and Pucks for over a year now. And then me and my buddy Jackson, who we do Buds Mafia podcast, he's always wanted to do a podcast. He's a massive Bills fan. I'm a big Bills fan. He's probably more of a Bills fan. I'm the bigger Leaf fan, but we both are the fans of each other. And it all just came together. And we did. There wasn't much of a plan going into it. It was kind of at work one day. We used to work together. It was a Friday saying, hey, we should do a podcast on your platform. Like, yeah, sounds good. Then the Monday we recorded. And the first few episodes definitely were rough. Not a lot of planning. But now I think you kind of learn episode by episode, and it's been fun so far. And yeah, I mean, you're recording with one of your best friends once a week, talking Bills, talking Leafs, and everything like that. It's a dream.
Right. And the whole content creation space, like you always have like those few people that are like, I want to do this as a full-time job. Like, this is my dream. Like, okay, that's great and all. Like, that's cool. I don't hate that at all. But doing it with your best friend or doing with close buddies, whatever, and just talking, whether it's puck, whether it's ball, whether whatever it is, it could just be a talk about random things for an hour, hour and a half, whatever. It's always nice to go on and just, speak your mind and stuff like that, whether
Oh,
it's
yeah.
give an opinion, like you guys do the Maple Leafs and Bills, or over here we talk just nothing but NHL, etc. And it is cool and everything. So
No, for sure. Like I think when we started this, our motto was obviously, hey, for a career, I'd love to be doing this. I know it's a long shot. I know it can be very tough sometimes, but end of the day, I think I said at the beginning, I'll do this for 0 views. I mean, he's engaged now. I'm with my long-term girlfriend. We all have our other lives. So, 1 to 2 hours every Sunday or Monday, I get a chat with him and just catch up. I'll do that for anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get that. I started this about 2 years ago. It wasn't the Checking from Behind podcast, it was the Deep Dive podcast. Originally, we talked nothing but sports because, again, we're fans of sports all around, baseball, football, hockey, etc. And then we're like, we could honestly just do hockey because that was getting the most engagement. So then we rebranded, etc. Now we just do this for fun, and I love engaging with the community, other content creators, etc. So again, it's a blast having you on. And today we have an absolute loaded episode for everybody. From Dallas, they end up landing a Stadium Series game in 2027, as it seems like the NHL is continuing to expand in the southern markets. The Anaheim Ducks are flying high. They sit atop the Pacific Division for the first time since 2021. The Maple Leafs, your Maple Leafs, are finally turning the corner after it seemed like a rocky start. Plus, the Eastern Conference seems super deep, as well as we wrap it all up with our weekly segment, Thursday Therapy, this week featuring the St. Louis Blues. So, without further ado, let's kick things off with our quick hitters. And we're starting in Texas because Dallas Stars, they ended up just landing a Stadium Series game for 2027 as the NHL is continuing to push into southern markets. Personally, I think this is a big win for hockey growth. And, okay, I understand they're playing at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. It's a dome, whatever. But if you look at the logistical stuff about the NHL wanting to expand into the not as well-known markets, the smaller markets, like we saw Utah get a hockey team, right? We're seeing this year Tampa Bay and the Florida Panthers are both hosting their own outdoor games, one of them being the Winter Classic this season. So it feels like the NHL is really trying to expand its market and a growth and fan base. And ultimately, honestly, I really like this for the NHL and the Dallas Stars as well.
No, I love it. I mean, people complain about the dome all they want, but I mean, the home of the Cowboys. They actually, when the Stars hosted like one of the largest NHL games in history against the Preds a few years ago, that was the infamous Corey Perry headshot to Ryan Ellis. And I mean, you see Dallas, like they're one of the top teams in the league. They're struggling right now, but there's no doubt in my mind they'll get to that top. No opponent yet. I think this is crucial to get a good opponent, either a Central Division rival. Edmonton, I know they're not in the same division, but how they face each other in the last few conference finals. Utah, I think, would be an awesome matchup against Dallas. I know there's no real rivalry there, but two cool fan bases. The Avalanche, obviously, with Mikko Rantanen and everything, two great teams. But yeah, I love it. I think Dallas is a great market. I think the stadium's going to be awesome, and I'm dying to see who they're going to play.
Yeah, I'm wondering to see when we'll get the opponent in question, whatever, when the schedule releases. But I would love to see Dallas versus Edmonton. They have back-to-back Western Conference Finals matchups together the last 2 seasons. It feels like a rivalry has kind of grown because you see these teams that don't necessarily bring the fire in the regular season, but if they play a couple times in the postseason, especially back-to-back, you can get a little bit of fire, and we've seen a little bit of fire from those two teams. But again, I love the Avalanche matchup because, like you said, the Mikko Rantanen and stuff that's just going to keep continuing. It feels like forever throughout his entire career. I would like Utah for the sake of growing the game a little bit more, but I would also like an outdoor game in Utah with the Utah Mammoth. But that's a conversation for a different day. But yeah, I'm overall excited for this, and I like what the NHL is doing, and hopefully we can see this game growing more and more. And I would assume this game is going to be sold out of like 80,000 people, whatever it's going to be. It's going to be electric to watch.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, like I said, they hosted already one of the largest games in history in Dallas a few years back. The second largest is the one in Columbus last year. And again, like Columbus isn't a massive market, but I remember that Columbus versus Detroit game. They're fighting for a wild card spot. It was in Columbus. I mean, obviously the whole story with Columbus SC with Johnny Gaudreau and everything, like that was like 90,000 people. Like it was incredible. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's at least 80,000 at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium for that game.
I agree, and especially with all the Four Nations stuff, it felt like that really put the hockey and NHL in general in a complete spotlight and national spotlight. And watching USA versus Canada go out, and now people are falling in love with hockey because they're understanding that this is actually a fun sport. If you go to your local ice rink, you're probably not going to have fun watching it. Or if you just see some stuff online, it's like, oh, he's did a spinorama pass and it went in, whoop-de-doo. But if you watch the entire game, like it's generally fun to watch. So
no, absolutely.
Going on to the Anaheim Ducks. It feels like they have arrived at this point. They are sitting atop of the Pacific Division for the first time since 2021. They are tied with the Golden Knights with 17 points. This team has surprised me. I thought they were going to be better. I didn't think they were going to be this good. They're off to a 9-3-1 start or whatever, 7-3-1 start. And here we are. Cutter Gauthier looks great. Leo Carlson, Troy Terry, Beckett Seneca, they all look fantastic. And this is a case where maybe it can be sustainable for the Anaheim Ducks throughout the entire season. And maybe they are going to be a team that has finally burst on the scene with a bunch of the young talent.
100%. I think preseason, when I gave my kind of playoff prediction, I think I didn't have much change. I think the only change I had, obviously seeding's a lot different, but I think the only change I had for a team making it was Anaheim. I like this team. I think Leo Carlson's a monster. He's like a 6'3", 210 centerman. Cutter Gauthier might score 40 goals this year. I mean, and you think about like a guy like Troy Terry. Like he's a point a game. I think it's 15 points in 12 games right now. He's most underrated as right winger in the league right now. Top 6. Lucas Dostal, people thought he would have maybe a slump after last year, signed a big contract. He's having a solid year. And a lot of these young teams, they usually get to a hot start because they're excited to play, they're energetic and everything, and they kind of fizzle off, but they have such a good mix of veterans and young guns. Like Chris Kreider has 7 goals in 8 games. They have Killorn, Stanley Cup champion back there. Radko Gudas. Trouba has been not in the headlines for a while. And I looked at stats. I mean, he's like a +10, something like that. So, I mean, I love the build of this team, and they're just so deep and they're so young. But I can't see them winning the division, but you never know. But I think this team is just shoo-in to make the playoffs for sure.
I'm with you. I had them finishing, I think, 6th in the Pacific Division. I'm already eating my words. And you look at their wins, too. there's not really a common theme. They're winning 5-2 games. They're winning 3-2. They won a 7-6 game in overtime early against the San Jose Sharks, and
Mhm.
then you go out the last two games. You beat a New Jersey team, which by the way is one of the better teams in the entire
Yep.
Eastern Conference. You beat them 4-1, and then last night, as of this recording, you beat the Florida Panthers, who I'm aware they are banged up. You still beat them 7-3, and now you have a tough
Yeah.
test coming up tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And then you play Vegas, and you play Winnipeg, and then you play Colorado, and even Detroit. So there's a 5 straight games, 4 of them on the road, mind you. The only one that is at home is the Winnipeg game on Sunday. There's a test coming up here. If the Anaheim Ducks can hang around with these teams, they could be real. Now, they could turtle up and lose all 5 or lose 4 of them. And it's like, wow, they just got off to a hot start. That's it. But I want to see the Anaheim Ducks. And like you mentioned, they have a mix of young and older guys. And I think Verbeek has done a really, really good job at building this team. And the main thing that I've noticed with the Anaheim Ducks, why they're playing so good, it's not really necessarily their offense analytically, because 5v5, at least 5v5 per se, they aren't like the bottom 12 of goals, expected goals, Corsi, Fenwick, etc. But their defense is the top 10 for quite literally everything, even strength. 5v5 goals allowed, expected goals allowed, Corsi, Fenwick, like it's just so sorry. I haven't mixed up. Their offense is really, really good. Their defense is not so good. So if the
Mhm.
Anaheim Ducks can keep this offensive play up and get a little bit more defensive help for Lucas Solso,
Yeah.
this team could make a run. And Lucas
Oh
Solso
yeah.
has held his head above water. Like they've been good.
Yeah, no, they've been awesome. And again, like I remember there were questions about his contract, Dostal, and
Mm-hmm.
then second half of the year he wasn't his best. I think he finished the year at like 3 goals against, but it's kind of mainly from that second half. Signed a long-term deal, and it's looking great. I mean, this future of this team is just looking absolutely perfect. I mean, John Quinville is just he's a tough coach, but at the same time, I think he's a player's coach at the same time. I was a big Chicago fan growing up because growing up as well, Toronto was kind of dog shit, so I had needed another
Mm-hmm.
team to kind of cheer for at the same time. And just he understands when to bark at someone, understands when to lift a guy up. And yeah, that decor is young. Obviously, you have Mitnyakov, Zellweger, Jackson Lacombe, who struggled off the gate, but I think he's starting to find his groove, at least offensively. You have a veteran like Truba in there, Captain Radko Gudas. So the defense will come. I think they're definitely going to be buyers this trade deadline. I know we're months away from that, but I think that's definitely a focus. I think their offense is awesome. I think they have a perfect mix of, again, veterans and young guys with Killorn, Terry, Kreider was such a great move. And I was shocked at the offseason when people were so shocked and confused about the Michael Granlund signing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have over 40 million in cap space. Maybe not, they won't anymore because this offseason they do have to sign Cutter and Leo Carlson.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think 7 million for 3 years, who a guy who would point a game in San Jose, point a game in Dallas, everything. He's just a filling guy, can play him anywhere you want. I mean, I think this is their perfect mix. And I think again, I think we're going to see stretches where, yes, they maybe lose 5 in a row. They may have some stretches where maybe Cutter Gauthier is not lighting up every game like he is right now. But I think this team will be built for that. They have the veteran leadership to do so. I love John Quinville behind the bench.
And you want to know a move that they made in the offseason that I honestly was kind of a fan of? The Ryan Paling one, 5 points
Mm-hmm.
in 12 games. He's not being asked to log a ton of minutes like maybe he was in Philadelphia, but he's just down there playing a third line role and doing his job. And he was another good addition. And the Anaheim Ducks, you go over to their defensive core. You brought up how young they are. That was my question coming into the season was, okay, they have a bunch of young talent on the blue line, but defensively, just defensively, strictly wise, they could struggle. And right now they are struggling. But you know what? That's what happens when you have such a young blue line, because I say this time and time again, goaltending is the hardest position to play in
Mm-hmm.
hockey, but I think defense is the hardest to develop a good two-way game at. Most defensemen nowadays are coming into the league scoring at least a point per game, whether it's juniors or
Mm-hmm.
NCAA or overseas, whatever it is. They don't have a big two-way game. They're not defensively, especially
Yeah.
juniors kids where you have like Zane Parak putting up 100 points in 60
Yeah.
games, and you have a bunch of these other defensemen doing that. NCAA, it's a little bit different because you do have to play a little bit more defense, a little bit harder competition than overseas. You see a lot of these overseas defensemen, they honestly come in and they tend to fit in almost right away, especially when you're playing in the Swedish Hockey League or the KHL for a few years, whatever, because that's some of the highest pro leagues around the world outside of the NHL. But having Jacob Trouba and Rako Gudas back there to help the 5 players that are 24 under on the blue line, I think is huge for the Anaheim Ducks. I really like Jackson Lacombe. I love the $9 million contract they gave him.
Yeah,
They're
me too.
betting on his talent. That's what a lot of teams are doing nowadays. They're betting on these players' talents to live up to the money, and especially with the salary cap rising exponentially over the next few years, the $9 million in 2 seasons even is going to be like if they sign him to a $7.5 million contract nowadays. That's just how it is, and that's just how we have to get used to this stuff. So that's just me, though.
No, for sure. And back to your thing about kind of development and kind of two-way defenseman, like Olin Zellweger. Yeah, I mean, when he was in Kelowna, he was putting up 60 points in a season, playing 30 games, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not like when he comes to the NHL, he's going to play first-line minutes, right? And so he's going to be that 6th defenseman, 5th defenseman, and a lot of times you're playing a lot of the meatheads. You're playing against a Lawson Krause, who I'm watching right now, guys like that, and so again, it's like almost every sport. Like, yeah, everyone puts up points. Even the gooniest goon that you can see on the ice, they probably put up points in their junior days, wherever they are, right? It's about
Mm-hmm.
developing, getting your shot. So again, I think there's going to be some growing pains with players like that. I like Mitnyakov. I know he's maybe struggled offensively off the gate, but he doesn't need to be offensive. You have Jackson Lacombe kind of being your anchor. I mean, he's a truck. He's like 6'2", over 200 pounds. So not really too worried about him. He had a great rookie year, kind of fizzled off last few years, but I still have confidence in him. He's still so young. But Zellweger, I'm interested to see what he can do. I loved him when he played for Team Canada, World Juniors. Again, kind of a water bug on defense, but it's kind of tough. I mean, obviously we're seeing Lane Hudson do it as an undersized defenseman, but he's kind of a different breed. But Zellweger, I would like to see more, but it's kind of tough when you're in a position where you're not really going to get that much power play minutes with Jackson Lacombe and stuff like that. But again, we're going to see growing pains, but I like this decor, and I think they're going to figure it out.
Going over to Zellweger, I use Evolving Hockey to kind of go over like player charts and stuff like that. It's comparable to what Lane Hudson was last season. You have him in the 92nd percentile in offense. His defense is in the 13th percentile. And that's one thing that I intrigued about today's NHL game and like development and stuff. When you get these young guys that in juniors or college or whatever, they're just offensive monsters and just put up point night after night after night. Sometimes you get these coaches that instead of trying to change them and really focus on their defense right away, they pair them with some shutdown defenseman or physical defenseman and just let them do their game offensively and then work on it, whether it's in the offseason or progressing throughout the season and everything, and have that defenseman teach them. Like Zellweger is paired up right now with Jacob Trouba, who is a shutdown defenseman. I know towards the end of his tenure in New York, he wasn't great defensively, but he's been better in Anaheim, and he's a perfect fit for Zellweger, where if you threw him with Drew Hellison, I think that pair would struggle mightily because they're right around the same play style, but also they're so super young, and Zellweger doesn't have that defensive capabilities yet in his career to really help carry a line, especially with 2 young guys. So I am intrigued with the development, and I want to ask you this because the Ducks are obviously off to a hot start right now. There is 5 teams, including the Ducks, that are all within 1 point of each other as of right now in the Pacific Division. I'm going to ask you who you would take the Ducks over right now in the Pacific Division out of those 5 teams. The Ducks or the Oilers?
Oilers. I know maybe they had a rough start, but McDavid's, after people are saying a rough start, he's now first in the league in points. I'll always take McJesus over anyone.
I agree with that. The Ducks or the Golden Knights?
Hate to say it because my former boys over there, but I'll still take Vegas. I think they're such a heavy team. Mark Stone's out right now. Jack Eichel's an MVP candidate. Hannafin's back now. Their goaltending is a little bit iffy, but I still like that team top to bottom, loaded with veterans and young guns. I like Vegas.
Ducks or the Kraken?
Ducks. I know the Kraken's playing great right now. I love Joey Decord, Shane Wright, former or current Burlington boy as well, but I don't believe in Seattle. I mean, I like what they're doing. I don't hate their roster. I love Brandon Montour. I like Vince Dunn. I like that team, but I'm still taking the Ducks all day.
Ducks or the Kings?
That one's tough because the
Mhm.
Kings, they have such a great blend of, like I said, for a lot of veterans and some young guns. Maybe young guns now trying to take that next step, like Byfield, especially with Kopitar retiring. Not really sure how Kemper's doing this year, but honestly, I'll take the Ducks. I think it's tough. I know Kempy's been lighting it up in his contract year, but I like the Ducks over the Kings.
That one's a tricky one
It is
because
very tricky,
the
very
Kings got
tricky.
worse over the offseason. The Ducks
Yep.
got better, but the Kings still have the top guys, and I think the Ducks are relying on the development of Carlson,
Yep.
Gauthier, etc., McTavish, who is having a pretty solid season so far. And the Kings, they still have like Byfield, Kempe, Fiala,
Yep.
Kopitar, who is Kopitar still out with an injury right now?
I think so. But again, he's the most reliable guy you can have. When he's
Right.
on the ace, it's all that. And it's tough. Like Drew Doughty's so Drew Doughty and
Mm-hmm.
everything. I'm so surprised of paying Cody Ceci $4 million. I think they just paid Joel Edmondson the same thing. Like that kind of shocked me a lot.
Yes.
But it's tough. I like the veteran leadership more on LA over Anaheim. Anaheim kind of more the depth pieces like Kaloran. I know Cryer's been very well. Same with Truba, but they definitely lean more on the veterans in LA over Anaheim. But it's tough. I'm still leaning Anaheim, but it's very, very close.
This episode is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Hockey's back in the season. DraftKings is an official sports betting partner of the NHL. I use DraftKings to bet on any NHL game and player props, and you should too. From anytime goal scorer to picking an underdog, trying to win big, DraftKings has it all. And here's the best part. New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet hits. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for gambling problems. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. Must be the age of 21 years or older. Age and eligibility vary by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after assurance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos for details. NFL Sunday ticket offer for new subscribers only. Auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
All right, quick timeout before we get back to the action. This episode is brought to you by W Energy. Listen, hockey's fast, and whether you're breaking down plays, yelling shoot from the couch, or just getting in a workout, you've got to stay sharp. That's where W comes in. Clean energy with zero sugar, no crash, no artificial flavors or dyes. Just 150 milligrams of caffeine per serving, about 2 cups of coffee's worth to keep you locked in and ready to go. Personally, I use W before the gym, on the ice, and even when prepping content for the pod. If you need that extra spark, whether you're grinding through work, lifting, or lacing up the skates, W's got you covered. Head over to W.GG and use code CFB Pod for 10% off your order. That's W.GG, code CFB Pod for 10% off your order. Fuel up, stay locked in, and let's get back to the episode. Let's hop into your Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Because they got off to a little bit of a rough start, and
Yeah.
people were already starting to write them off a little bit because the whole Mitch Marner leaving, try to replace him with depth, and it felt like everybody was just hopping off the bandwagon. And in the last 10, I believe they're 6-3-1. Nylander looks the best he's ever been in his
Yeah.
career. I know the goaltending's been a little shaky, but Wool is still currently out with the whole family thing or personal
Yeah.
reasons, whatever. So he'll be back sooner rather than later. If I'm the Maple Leafs fan or media or whatever, and if they were panicking after like 10 games into the season, not even what are we doing? You still have Matthews, you still have
Yeah.
Nyes.
Yeah.
I know I saw you guys ended up sending down Easton Cowan or whatever earlier
Mhm.
today, and kind of give me a perspective on how you feel where the Leafs are right now. They're tied 2-2 right now against Utah in the second intermission, but just kind of give me your general thoughts on how you feel about this roster, if there's anything to improve, anything that is great, etc.
For sure. And again, this happens every year. Like I think if you look at the past few years, they've always been 5-4-1 after 10. I will say in these games they have looked a little bit worse than past. I think last year's with their poor starts, they've still put up a solid effort. I mean, that first 2 periods against Pittsburgh was, I've seen some bad games like Florida game 5, Florida game 7, but those were some horrible hockey in those 2 periods. But then you see it. I think they're playing great tonight from the hockey I've seen. They played great in the third period against Pittsburgh. And yeah, I think they're running Stolarz just into the ground right now. I think Primo's played 2 or 3 games. Stolarz is playing like almost every game right now. And yes, his numbers aren't there, but I have confidence in Stolarz. I'm so happy they re-signed him.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Nylander has like the best points per game in the league right now. I think he's proven that he's one of the top wingers in the league. He dances around there, and I just told my parents a few minutes ago, like Matthews' last third period in this game is probably one of the best I've seen him play in a while. He's engaged. Last year, clearly hurt, like clearly hurt. And when I heard that he got hurt in training camp and just battled through it, I was so angry because it's like, just take the 2 months off. Like, I don't like they're deep enough. They had Mara, they had Nylander, but he looks healthy. He's shooting the puck. He's strong in the puck. His defensive skills are awesome. And yeah, I mean, people are saying without Marner things are an issue, but they're 7th in the league in goals right now. Like, I don't think goal scoring is the issue. Nyes is having such an underrated season. He's over a point per game. It's been the depth as well as his defensive responsibilities. Like, I remember that one game against Jersey a few weeks ago. I haven't seen that many 4-on-1s in a game in a while. It's just defensemen kind of cheating the game, maybe forward lack of responsibility. But again, it's early. I think Berube is a perfect coach for the situation, and it proved against Pittsburgh. They were horrible for 40 minutes. They came back, and they played the best period I've seen them play in a long time. And yes, they keep saying, they need another top 6 winger, which they need. Yes, Michelli has clearly not been it. He's having a solid game tonight. Having Lawton back, I think, is massive. I don't think people understand how good he is and what he can provide. Glue guy, can play up and down the lineup, third, fourth line, maybe even sneak in some second line minutes. Great in a room, but it's just defensive responsibilities. I do think our decor needs to be a bit better. Carlo's been taking some slack. He's been okay. Not having Tanev stinks. Obviously, that brutal injury, which I'm still unsure. I think it's a neck injury, not a concussion injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they need Wall back. I think they need to release the pressure off Stolarz, who I love Stolarz. I love the fire he's bringing and everything. I do think he needs a break. I don't think he hates. I mean, goalies will never complain about playing every day, but I do think they need a break. And again, I don't think goals is the issue. I think it's just defensive responsibilities and maybe providing a little bit more offense from the bottom 6. But I have no issues with our top guys as of right now.
I don't necessarily see an issue with really the Maple Leafs. If I'm going through their schedule and like their wins and losses and stuff like that, there was only like a 3-game stretch where they just lost 3 straight games. Against the Kraken, they lost the rough one against New Jersey and then another rough one against Buffalo. Outside of that, though, like they ended up clawing back in the second game of the back-to-back home and home set against Buffalo, winning in overtime 4-3 on a John Tavares fucking laser from the top of the circle.
Oh, yeah.
They beat Calgary. They did lose against Columbus. But then what was really encouraging to me was watching the game Monday night against the Penguins, coming back down 3-0 after getting punched in the mouth in the first period and winning that game in regulation. Nylander looked phenomenal. Matthews looked great. And it looked like the team really responded to the Penguins putting those 3 goals up early.
Mm-hmm.
I look at that, and if this team was really in trouble, they would have just rolled over and just would have lost that game like 5-1 or something, whatever it was. They decided not to. And the offense is not an issue. The Maple Leafs are clearly not an issue. And this goes back to the Atlantic Division where I love Detroit. I love Boston. Not really. But just for this sake, though, I don't see those 2 teams keeping up in the Atlantic Division, right? The only team I see keeping up in the Atlantic Division right now is really Montreal because they are like killing everybody.
Yeah.
And Toronto right now is at 15 points. They've clawed their way back from a little bit of a hole that they've gotten in. And I think that they can go out at the deadline and make a move for a player, whether it's a top 6 scoring winger, whether it's just a depth guy, depending on what happens with injuries and stuff like that. And like you said, having Wool back will be absolutely huge because if we're being frank with you, Caden Primo has not been great at all. He's been brutal. It's not like his stats are inflated. Like you watch the Maple Leafs game, he's just allowing goals in that he should stop, like routine saves.
Yeah. And it's just, the deadline, I know it's far away, but I like a defenseman more than I like an offensive winger. I would like both, but I understand that a lot of the top teams don't have a lot of their first nowadays. And I mean, we saw last year it was a buyer's market. Like, I mean, Carlo went for Minton and a first rounder, and people are saying it's an overpay. Yes, it's slightly overpay, but if Toronto wasn't going to give that up, another team was going to give that up, right? It was just it's not buyers, it was a seller's market. They're trading away first like crazy, right? So Cowan's in the mix. I like the way Cowan's playing. I was surprised he was sent down, but I also don't hate it. There's a lot of forwards on Toronto, and I think just develop his game. There's a lot of positive. His first game against Detroit, I thought he played very, very well. I just think in Marlies, he's going to play every situation, get a ton of minutes, and get called up throughout the year. And I also really don't want to give up Ben Danford. I really like him as a prospect in Toronto. Right-handed shot, heavy defenseman, leadership qualities. They're saying all that. But I don't really know who's out there. I interviewed Nick Alberga last week, and we actually chatted about it. And he was tough to figure out a name as well. But he mentioned a guy like Justin Falk on St. Louis, a team clearly struggling, right-handed shot, veteran, can play both sides of the puck. So I do like that. But yeah, I think just get Woll back, get some lineup matches kind of in the groove. They started tonight with Nyes, Matthews, Nylander. I mean, that arguably is one of the best lines in hockey if it kind of continues like that. I would like some more depth on that second line. Obviously, you have Tavares, who's been still the ageless wonder and everything. Michelli would love to be better. I mean, if Robertson can keep playing the way he's playing, but we see this every year. I feel like he's been on the trade block for 5 years, which he might have been, honestly. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's tough. I would like another defenseman, but right now, again, people are saying Marner's the issue, but offense is the issue right now. It's just kind of goaltending. Stolarz is playing a lot. They need Woll back, but I mean, again, the last 2 games, and if you remove that Columbus game where they lost 6-3, just horrible effort and everything, I think they've honestly has not been that bad of a start. I think they've been solid. And again, they were second last in the East. We're going to talk about how deep the East is. They were second last in the East.
Mm-hmm.
They won that game. They became third in the East. Like, it's crazy how deep it is right now.
It is insane how deep it is. You go from Montreal, Detroit, Boston, and then in the Metro, you have the Devils, Penguins, and Hurricanes all separated by 2 points. And usually it is tighter early on, especially in the Eastern Conference. But Florida Panthers are last in the East at 500 right now. You have Washington, you have New York, the Sabres. You have, as of right now, you have the Blue Jackets, Islanders, Lightning, Senators, Sabres, and Rangers all at 14 points. That is 1, 2, 3,
That's
4.
crazy.
That's 6 teams at
That's
14
nuts.
points.
Yeah.
There's
6
nuts.
points from first and last. Like 6 points is from first and last in Brady. 19 and 13. Like it's wild. It's ridiculous.
I've said this on a previous episode where a winning streak or losing streak can make or break a team's season here. If let's say the Maple Leafs, for example, they end up going on a 5-game winning streak here shortly, all of a sudden you're top of the Atlantic Division most likely, or at least you're up there in the Atlantic Division, and you've kind of separated yourself a little bit from the playoff line. Or if a team like Buffalo, because they usually do it in November, unfortunately, if they go on like a 6-7 game losing streak, and now they go from 14 points in 13 games, now they're 14 points in 19 games, and all of a sudden things aren't looking so great while every other team is winning hockey games or getting the overtime shootout points, the 1-point games. It's going to be an interesting race. I remember, it might have been last season where it felt like there were like 6 or 7 teams competing for like 2 wildcard spots or 1 wildcard spot. This season, like, I love the Islanders. I think they're eventually going to fall off. Same with the Bruins. The Lightning are finally getting it going. The Senators, if they can somehow get their goaltending in check, they'll be back. The Panthers are dealing with a bunch of injuries. The Capitals have great goaltending. Three teams that I don't see really keeping it up. The Rangers, they can't score to save their life, but they have Igor, so anytime. The Islanders, I just think that roster is not good enough to hold up, especially with a little bit of the young pieces. And then the Boston Bruins, I just don't like their roster at all. But
do you believe in Pittsburgh? Do you think Pittsburgh?
I believe in Pittsburgh.
Do you?
Yes,
okay,
I believe in Pittsburgh. I think Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and the rest of the group. They've been great.
Yeah, they've been awesome. And my counter is just Malkin did this last year. I'm pretty sure he led the league in points for the first month and a half, but I'll never doubt Sidney Crosby. I mean, we're looking at They have Ben Kindle, who was 11th overall pick from this year's draft, and
Yeah.
it's looking like he's staying, which is pretty crazy. As Schaefer's the only guy staying right now, so it's him and Ben. They're getting some solid goaltending out of Shilovs and Jari. I mean, like, I know they're missing Brazeau right now, so who before the league was leading the league in goals at one point. Anthony Mantha's been solid. It's just this team. He put some guys with Crosby and Brian Rust. Brian Rust is a guy who, if Pittsburgh was crap, I would have done anything for Toronto to get him. He would have been a perfect forward to incorporate in that top six, and probably any team's top six, arguably. Just Crosby and Rust have been such an underrated duo for a center and right winger for the past kind of decade, arguably, since they've won their back-to-back cups. But yeah, I don't know. I'm iffy on Pittsburgh. I personally would take Rangers over Pittsburgh, but right now, again, Rangers haven't won at home. Their offense is atrocious. Alexis Lafreniere continues to disappoint me. I keep trying to believe in the kid, but it's something wrong with him, I guess. But again, like you said earlier, like if you have Igor, like I think he can drag them up a bit more. But yeah, I don't really believe in Boston. Detroit could surprise people, but I don't really see it. Columbus, I think everyone always roots for Columbus. I like their team. I love Zach Werenski. But goaltending can sometimes be an issue, even though Jet Greaves is actually playing really solid, as well as Rich Lincoln. So again, like you said, like if you lose I know it's early on, but if you lose a few games in a row, it's a battle. And I know Florida has injuries, but say Florida kind of keeps on with his 500 path in his last. I know then Barton Kachuk comes back. Like that's a hole to climb out of, and it's not an easy hole. Especially how good, sadly to say, how good Montreal's been and all these other Atlantic teams.
Yeah, and you even have the Flyers who technically battled back down one against Montreal in a shootout one last night, but they blew that 3-0 lead to Montreal, whatever. They've looked good. That Trevor Zegers looks phenomenal right now on the Flyers. Yeah. Jack Hughes, as long as he can stay healthy and the rest of the Devils can, they look really good. I know Markstrom just came back from an injury about a week ago. So, yeah, the East is extremely deep. It's going to be extremely competitive where you look at the West, too. Like, it's just like you have the Flames, Blues, Sharks that are kind of out of it. The Wild are slowly coming back. And then the East is just like, yeah, here's not 10 teams, but 8 teams within 2 points of each other. Like, it's ridiculous. It really is. Yeah. And going over to Detroit, I'm wishy-washy with them. Sometimes I'm like, this team's really good, and other times I'm like, I don't believe in the Yzer plan. I don't necessarily see Yzerman's vision. The Red Wings do this every year. They start off hot. It's like, oh my God, they built themselves a good cushion, and then they drop off and they go on a losing streak, a decent sized one at that, towards the end of the season, and then they missed the playoffs by like 1 point. I think actually last season they started off really slow. They fired their head coach, brought in McClellan. McClellan, it was kind of like the new coach thing boost where they won like 5 of their first 6 games, and they kind of middled in, and then they made a push for the playoffs, whatever. But I remember like 2 years ago, the Red Wings were like 10 or 11 points up in a playoff spot. And Dylan Larkin went down. He lost like 8 straight games, and that completely killed the season. And then they lost to a tiebreaker to the Capitals who got in. And it's like, well, if you would have gotten 1 more point out of that losing streak here in the playoffs, but nope, that decided not to happen. So yeah, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I again, like you said, Detroit does this every year. Like I love Larkin. I think he's an incredible player. Patrick Kane, Showtime. He had a great start, kind of fizzled off a little bit. Detroit's still up there in points, but kind of similar to Anaheim into like a young D-core. Obviously, I like Anaheim's core a lot too, but Sider's been awesome. But young D-core with Edvinsson and Axel Sandy and Pellikka. Sure, I don't hate Sherratt, but I don't know. I don't really. I know Yzerman has done so much in the league and everything, but look at last year. His team clearly wasn't happy. They didn't make a move, and even their captain Larkin made a point of that, right? So they definitely have to be buyers. They definitely have to be pushing for it because it's time. Hockey Town's back in the playoffs, but it's going to be tough. But again, off to a hot start. But let's see if they can keep it.
Give me your pretenders and your contenders in the Eastern Conference.
Pretenders. I'll still say Pittsburgh. I think you know what. Like I love Crosby. I love what he can do. I think they did this similar last year. Maybe not as many wins as last year, but Malkin led the league in points for quite a while. He's doing the same right now. I don't have a lot of confidence in Jari keeping this up. I think they have a lot of young guys, a lot of guys who I love their coach. I think apparently if they're loving their coach, you know, it's kind of that new coach effect a lot. But yeah, I'm not sure of Pittsburgh and a contender. I think I said this before the season. A team who, if they stay healthy, I think they're the best team in the league is New Jersey. I think if they are healthy, they are one of the best teams in the league. Nemec is playing great for once. Finally, Dougie Hamilton, Luke Hughes, Jack Hughes is one of the best players in the world. Jesper Bratt might be the most underrated forward in the league. I always try to pick him up in fantasy because he's a guaranteed 80, 85 points minimum. Nico Hischier, incredible two-way center. It's just health for them. That's every year. That's literally all it's been. Get Jack Hughes in the playoffs, and they'll do good. I mean, they won a game against Carolina last year in the first round with half their team injured. So, and Jake Allen's been great. If you look at Jacob Markstrom, I know they signed him. I thought it was a bit early for an extension, but we see what Jacob Markstrom. His stats aren't the best, but he'll turn it around. But Jake Allen, the veteran goalie, he's been awesome. So again, I'll always believe in this team. As long as they're healthy, they're going to be a nasty team.
I was on the Devils bandwagon hardcore last season, especially. I
Yeah.
picked them to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Stars. They would lose in 6 games to the Stars. That didn't happen. And when Jack Hughes went down with the freak injury right after the Four Nations, I kind of figured the Devils season was over. That was a rough, tough break, too, for the Devils. Like, he just trips up on Eichel. Obviously, both are going for the puck at the end boards.
Mm-hmm.
Then, like, if that happens in, like, center ice, like, Jack Hughes gets up. But the fact that he just slid so hard into the boards, and that was overall rough. And going over to the Western Conference now, into our Thursday therapy segment, which kind of recaps the team that's been struggling, whether it's as of late or for the whole season. And not the more obvious teams. Like we talked about the Calgary Flames. The Sharks are clearly supposed to be bad, although they're not playing that bad. How about the St. Louis Blues right now? They're 4-7-2, second worst record in the league, only trailing the Calgary Flames. They are 2-6-2 in their last 10. It just feels like everything that has gone wrong for the Blues has gone wrong. They can't score. They can't keep the puck out of the net. Joel Hofer has a 5.16 goals against and an 829 save percentage. That is some EASHL goalie numbers. And then Jordan Binnington is a 308 goals against and an 868 save percentage. Not much better either. Everything after taking the Winnipeg Jets to 7 games and literally coming less than 5 seconds away from moving on. And it took a Kyle Connor Hail Mary pass across ice over to whoever it was on the right wing to nail that home on Binnington and then losing in overtime. Everything, man. The St. Louis Blues have to pick it up.
I saw some other podcasts say that they're their dark horse. And I'm not saying I didn't think there would be this bad because this is pretty bad, but I was bullish on this team. I don't think they're that good. Well, first off, I know that they're 8th last in goals for, but really right now it is goaltending. You can't win with one of your goalies who's played 5 games, averaging 5 goals. You can't win like that. I know you're not scoring to help, but really climbing out of a 5-goal game is kind of tough. And love Robert Thomas. Kyrie has been okay. Jake Neighbors has been solid for them, but I've never been the biggest fan of this team. I had them missing the playoffs. I know it's tough seeing Bennington's numbers because if you look at Team Canada's goalies, it's not the best right now. Logan Thompson's been solid, which is good, but I don't know if he'll make it. But yeah, there's not a lot to like about this team. Philip Broberg really, ever since he kind of left Edmonton, I know he had a good start in St. Louis this first year. He's had some injuries, but kind of fizzled off. Holloway's been kind of quiet. Kyrie's been in trade rumors for a year and a half now. Yeah, I don't know. I like other teams in the West. I didn't think they'd be this bad, but definitely wasn't a team that was high on my radar coming into the Western Conference.
I kind of root for the Blues like on the side, and I had them making the playoffs, sneaking in. They were a team that I thought could potentially sneak in and do a little bit of damage, not much. I thought they're still going to be a first-round exit. But the one thing that I thought about after I made the predictions, like final and everything with the brand, is this team got into the playoffs because they went on a 17-game point streak or something last season. And the one thing that I do like about St. Louis that they didn't do is look at their season last season, be like, let's go all in and try to make it. Like what Nashville did, where they had a similar run to get into the playoffs after the whole Vegas thing. And now that's blown up in their face. Everybody's so old, they're not producing, etc. For St. Louis, they kind of kept with the same players. They added like Pius Suter and they have Jimmy Snuggerud for a full season now because he made his debut in the playoffs, and you kind of kept like the same guys. You added Logan Malu and everybody else. Like Jordan Kyrou, he's been good. He hasn't been great. Like when
Yeah.
your leading point getter is Pius Tudor, like no offense to him, like Robert Thomas or Jordan Kyrou or Snuggerud or even Neighbors should kind of be up there. Buchnevich is a -9 in 13 games. I don't like to use minuses, but when you're like a -9, a -12 Braden Shen is in 13 games, like that's brutal. You cannot have that. Like at some point, like you have to look at the minus and be like, what are we doing here? And that's just my standpoint from it. I don't think this team's season is dead yet. I do know that when they beat Edmonton 3-2 on Monday night, I thought that was
wake-up call.
Good. Yeah, that was good. Although looking at their live score right now, they're not 5-0 to Washington.
Well, speaking of St. Louis, I just got a notification. It was kind of funny. So Ovi just scored his 900th goal tonight. And the notification I got is Binnington stole Ovi's puck, which is just kind of on point, which is kind of hilarious. But yeah, I mean, you make that Bolduc trade and look how it's turned out. Bolduc's been such a player that Montreal needs. And people are like, check out this Logan Mailloux kid. And I understand that it's early and everything, but I don't think he has a point. He might be a horrible plus-minus right now. And hey, I mean, look at it. Like, Pius Suter, yeah, great signing. But if he's your leading scorer, like to me, he's a third-line center on a cup-winning team. I think he's a really, really good depth center. But he shouldn't be leading your team in points, which is good for him. 8 points in 13, 12 games. Yeah. But you have guys like Robert Thompson had almost 90 points last year. Kyrou was supposed to be if you're not going to provide defense, he's got to be your offensive guy putting up points. He's not doing that. Jake Neighbors, I think he's like 7 points, 8 games, missed some time, but he's an old school type player. I like his game. Not a lot of offense from the end. So yeah, just again, like you said, they can go on a 17-game point streak and surprise us. And Binnington, say what you want about his regular season. You saw what he did at Four Nations. You see what he can do in playoffs. Maybe he can turn it around. But maybe get another backup goalie because Hofer clearly is not the right guy for that other role.
No, with 53 goals against in 13 games, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a Sabres fan, and I cover the Sabres. I write about them for the Hockey Writers. I'm genuinely excited to watch this team play the St. Louis Blues. That's no shade at the St. Louis Blues, but the Blues, they're not playing good hockey, and this is not a playoff team. This is a team that looks like they're going to be a lottery team and possibly get a top 5 draft pick. And who knows? Maybe they'll get Gavin McKenna to save their future for Lord only knows. I don't know. The point
when's the last time they had a top 5 pick? Like, they have been a good team. Like,
they have been.
That they drafted Eric Johnson first overall, like 07 or something like that. When's the last time they had even a top 10 pick? I'm trying to think in the back of my head right now. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, Snuggerud was a late first rounder. Parayko was not a top pick.
I know. I wasn't. Thomas was like a mid first rounder, I believe.
Yeah, he was a mid first rounder. Kyrou was like a second rounder. Like, I trying to think the last time they had.
Oh well. Okay, so if we go top 10, they had one in 2023. But if we go top 5, though, let's take a look.
Who was that? Was it Dvorsky? Was it Dalibor Dvorsky?
Yeah.
I remember. Yes, I remember him. I think he's playing now too. I mean, that's a guy you got to lean on. But I don't really. I don't trust me. I don't keep up with the St. Louis Blues farm system. I'm trying to think of guys they got, but I mean, this could be good for them. They kind of need some more prospecting system. I like Snuggerud, but yeah,
they like in most of the 2010s, they were like a consistent playoff team.
Oh yeah,
too.
every year.
They got Tage 26. Yeah,
because they had TJ Oshie, David Backes, Steen, Berglund. Like, they were kind of like the Washington Capitals of the West. They could not get out of the first, second round, and once they did, I think it was all hands on deck. Like, they were not going to get stopped.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right. So they ended up drafting Alex Pietrangelo in 2008, fourth overall.
Yes.
And then before that, it was just like you mentioned, Eric Johnson was first overall and stuff like that. They've only had 3 to 4 top 10 picks in the 2000s.
I mean, that's an accomplishment. I mean, you've been a good team, but I mean, everyone thought it was going to be last year, but again, you never know what's going to happen this year with the West and everything. But yeah, I like a lot of teams higher than them in the West. Like, I still think Seattle is going to dip a bit, even though, hey, it's good for them to play. They're playing well, but I think there's a lot of good teams in the West.
Not to have recency bias here. Right now, I really like the Sharks and the Blackhawks over the Blues with how they're
Yeah.
playing. They look energized. Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith looks great. I like Dickinson, who finally made the jump to the NHL full
Mm-hmm.
time. And then the Blackhawks, Bedard is having a career year, and Czar is proving people wrong that said his contract was an overpay. Me. Um, their goaltending has been great. Even Vancouver's bouncing back. Nashville doesn't look too bad. They're probably going to hover around 500. I thought last season they were underperforming. This season, probably around an 80 to 83 point team. And of course, we all know the rest of the teams in the Western Conference. And Minnesota's kind of picking it up here. They're 3-4-3. They've won their last 2. So 3-4-3 in the last 10. So we'll see what's going on with them. But yeah, the Blues, if they want to make a run, they got to pick it up right now.
I'm high on Minnesota. I think they're just in a slump. I think they have one of the best offenses in the league. Their power play is clicking. A lot of their guys have pretty nasty minuses, but they're scoring at will. Like I looked the other day, like both Boldy and Kaprizov are averaging like 22, 23 minutes a game. And as your forwards who aren't really shutdown forwards, that's a lot of minutes. And I think a guy who they really are missing is Zuccarello. I think he's a great plug-in guy. I love Zeev Bouillon. Faber's kind of have a rocky start, so is their goaltending. But I don't know. I love Kaprizov, and I do think the team can turn it around and make some moves in the Central, which is, if it's not the Atlantic, the Central is one of the best divisions in the league.
The Central, I thought coming into the season was the best. It genuinely is good between Colorado, Winnipeg, Utah. You have Dallas, Nashville, Chicago, Minnesota. Like, I mean, if Minnesota picks it up a little bit more and they win a few more games and Chicago keeps this up, you're looking at, instead of St. Louis being that 6th team, here comes Chicago, whether they're going to really be competitive all season. And like you said earlier in the episode, you sometimes get these young teams that get off the hot starts and then fizzle out. Maybe that will eventually be a Chicago team because I still don't think the roster is great. But it's at least nice to see this team having fun and being competitive and having the right guys. And having Jeff Blash still in there is honestly, it was a great move by Davidson and the Blackhawks organization and bring him in. He was the head coach for the Red Wings when they first started their playoff drought, when the Red Wings were just starting to rebuild and retool and kind of tear down from the Zetterbergs. And that's Duke was already gone for a couple of years, and Lindstrom too. And really starting to bring in guys like Larkin, who I believe he was drafted when Blasto became the head coach, but bringing in other guys too. And he seems like the right fit. So we'll see what's going on with Chicago later in the year too.
Yeah, I love Bedard. I really like to see how the way Bedard's playing right now. Nazar's been awesome. I know people like to say, Demidov was crazy how Chicago didn't choose Demidov over Levshunov, which, hey, I completely agree. Demidov playing with Bedard in that offense, but I don't know. I still kind of look at the fit, and 6'4", 220 right-hand shot defenseman can really be just a stabilizer back there. Maybe it's not proving dividends right now. But yeah, and then Spencer Knight's been incredible. So I like Chicago. They have a ridiculous prospect system with Oliver Moore. They have Nick Lardis, who had like 70 goals in Hamilton last year, lighting up the AHL right now. So yeah, I love how the young teams are starting to show some promise right now, and maybe some of these older teams are starting to dip, like St. Louis and Nashville. I don't hate Nashville right now, but Stamkos is having a rough start to say the least. But yeah, no, it's good to see some of these young teams really starting to put on a performance.
That's going to end it for today's episode. Thank you again for joining us here on the Checking From Behind podcast. Just let the audience kind of know where they can find you, what platforms, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. It was awesome coming on. It's a great conversation. If you see me turning my head, I'm looking at the Leafs game right now. 3-2 Leafs right now. Hopefully they can shut that down. But yeah, man. So yeah, you can follow me at Buds and Pucks on X, Instagram, TikTok, Buds Mafia on YouTube and Spotify. And as you see, I am growing a mo right now. People like to say I'm cheating because you're supposed to shave it, then wait. But this will be this in 2 months if I shave it now. So I like to start off with the mo and go on from there. Me and my partner Jackson, shout out Jackson, are training for the Toronto Marathon in May. We're on a bit of a weight loss journey. We did in November, and we're doing a content thing where for every $20 we get donated, we'll be running a kilometer in either Leafs gear or Bills gear. And we bid on a lot more than we can chew. We're already at $600, so we're already going to be running quite a bit in that gear, but that's all what it's for, right? So go check out my link in my bio there. And yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Go donate some money on his Instagram or wherever you can find it. Please do it. As much money as you can. $20, even $5. Go ahead, do
Absolutely.
it. It's great. So thank you again for coming on. And as always, new episodes out every single Sunday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can follow all of us on social media. Links are down in the description below. Subscribe, notification bell, and I'll see you guys in our next episode.